Hello, today we're going to be making this image of a clock on a table. First, let's get all the files that we're going to need for the project. If you follow the link in the description, you'll be taken to my website. I've got the files here in a pay what you want model. You can download it for free or you can choose to pick a specific amount. I'm going to include the finished Blender file, I'm going to include the reference image, and a high resolution render of this clock. So whatever you'd like, get those files. The next two things you're going to need is you're going to need the background texture from textures.com and the floor texture from Polygon. Both of these are links. I've already clicked on them. If you've never been to textures.com, it's a great site where you can get lots of textures. You can make a free account, and you can download these lower resolution models completely for free. So go ahead and get the small seamless one right here. And on Polygon, it's another great site where you can get textures. This one is one that they give away for free, so you don't even need to make an account. Just download one of these, and it's going to download all of these in one zip file for you. I use the 3K, but choose whatever resolution you'd like. And just go ahead and put all those files into the same folder, and then we're ready to open up Blender. I'm going to hit A twice, which is going to select everything in the scene. X and enter to delete everything. I'm going to hit 1 on the numpad to go into front view. If you don't have a numpad, just go to File, User Preferences, Input, and click Emulate Numpad right here. Alright, so I've hit 1 to go into front view, 5 to switch into orthographic view. I'm then going to hit N to bring up my right panel here. I'm going to check background images, open that up, add image, click open. I'm going to go to where I have my folder with all the files that we need for this project, and here's my reference image. I'm going to double click on it there. Alright, now I'm going to hit Shift A. Under Mesh, we're going to add a cylinder. Once you do that, you'll get a new box over here with some settings. We're going to leave it all the same, just make sure you have N-Gone selected. Alright, now I'm going to hit R to rotate, X to restrict that rotation on the X-axis, and 90 to change that 90 degrees. Now I'm going to hit Z to switch into wireframe mode so I can see my background image a little easier. Scroll back down over in this right panel, and I'm going to make the background image match up a little more closely here. So I'm going to change X to -0.85, Y to 0.15, and the size to 5.5. Okay, now we've got things matched up nicely here. If you do the middle mouse click and rotate, you'll move around your object. I'm going to hit Z to switch back into the solid view. Hold Control, hit Tab. Oh, no, don't do that. Hold Control, hit Tab again. My bad. Hit Tab first by itself to go into edit mode. Everything selected, as you can tell, because it's an orange. So I'm going to hit A once, deselect everything. Now we're going to hold Control, hit Tab, and click Face. Now we're going to right click right here to select this face, E and S, and we're going to move our mouse in a bit. This is going to be the rim of the clock right there. So what I did was I extruded it with E and S to immediately scale it inwards. This time I'm going to hit E without the S, and I'm just going to pull it back in space a little bit. Here, that might be a bit too much. Bring it in right here. Alright. With that selected, we're still going to hit extrude, scale a couple more times. Just to give us some more geometry in the clock so we don't get some strange things happening later on. Okay, I'm going to hit Control Tab to go into vertex mode. I just prefer looking at the scene a little bit more this way. A to deselect. Alright, now we're going to go over to our modifiers right here, the little wrench. Click Add Modifier, and we're going to add a subdivision surface. Alright, I'm going to switch that to 2, and you can see how it's smoothed out our our cylinder. I'm actually going to hit Tab to go back into object mode and switch the shading over to smooth. Alright, tab back into edit mode. Hit Z so I can see through. I want to select this innermost circle here, so I'm going to hold Alt and right click. That's going to select all those faces, or all of those vertices. I'm going to hit Z back to see what I'm doing again. If you scroll back up in this right panel, you'll see mean crease. I'm going to pull that all the way up to 1. So instead of it being curved, it's going to have a hard edge right there. We're going to do the same thing on the outer edge. I'm going to hold Alt, right click here, and I'm going to change this mean crease all the way up to 1. Alright, I'm going to hit Tab to go back into object mode. I'm going to scroll out a little bit and look at where we're at. Alright, 1 to jump back into front view. I'm going to go up here and name it. So I'm going to double click on cylinder. I'm going to change this to say clock body. Hit enter. Alright, now I'm going to Shift A, add in a new cylinder, scale it down, hit Z so I can see a little more closely what I'm doing here. This is going to be the leg down here, so I'm hitting G to move it and S to scale down. I want to get this closer to the size here. And since we have the exact same leg on both sides, I'm going to go over again to the wrench, click on this add modifier and click mirror. The mirror object, I'm going to click here, I'm going to select clock body. So you see we have an exact replica on the other side. I'm going to hit R, rotate around here. Okay, that's good. Hit Tab to go into edit mode. We'll zoom in a little closer here. Hit C. I'm going to select all of these by left clicking and holding. I'm going to right click off. Now I've got all those selected, and I can just hit G, pull them out. I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to hit C, left click and hold to select all those, then hit right click, and I'm going to hit G again, move it in right here. Alright, now we're going to extrude. It should automatically be restricting on the Z axis, but if not, click Z. I'm going to left click, hit scale, bring that in a bit, hit A to deselect, Shift A, and we're going to add in a UV sphere. It's way too big right now, so I'm going to hit S. Actually, I'm going to zoom out here. Scale down, scale way down, bring it a little closer here, zoom back in, scale it, get it in position here. Okay, let's see. Okay, that's good. Alright, tab back into object mode. I'm going to click smooth right here for smooth shading. Alright, so we've got our little legs, we've got our clock. Now let's keep working to get the top half going. I'm going to hit Shift A, add in another cylinder, scale it down, hit Z so I can see through it, scale it down some more, G to grab it, scale it down. We're also going to add a mirror modifier again. So add modifier, mirror. Right here, we're going to click clock body so it knows to mirror around the clock body. Zoom back in over here. R to rotate. Okay, scaled up a little bit. Get it right in position here. I'm going to hit S and Z. Nope, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to tab into edit mode. A to deselect everything. C and left click. Select all of those. right click to deselect, G, I'm just going to pull this out. Alright, hit Z so I can see where we're at again. Alright, I'm going to click smooth shading here. Alright, so now we're already a lot of the way there. Alright, so now we need to make this, I don't know what to call it, let's call it the little ears. I'm going to click Shift A, add in a UV sphere, Z so I can see what I'm doing a little bit better, bring it up. Alright, I'm going to scale this down, trying to match up the size of this. Okay, it looks about right. I'm going to tab into edit mode, A to deselect everything. I'm going to click B for my box select tool, left click, drag across all those. I'm going to hit X and enter on vertices, or click on vertices, either one. And we have that there. I'm going to tab back into object mode and Z so I can see them doing a little better again. Click smooth. We're going to add another mirror modifier. Click on mirror. Select the clock body again. Okay. Alright, I'm going to hit Z. See what I'm doing a little better. Rotate. Get this into position. Hit G. I'm going to bring it up a little bit. Right about there. Alright, and now I'm going to hit the middle mouse click so I can rotate around a little bit. Hit tab to get back in edit mode. And I'm going to right click on this vertex right here. I'm going to jump back into front view with 1. And now we're going to click O, which turns on proportional editing. So now when I hit G, you'll see that there's this circle that appears. And what this doing is, rather than me moving just this individual vertex, which I'll show you now with, I've turned off O, I'm going to click O again to turn it off. If I hit G, I'm moving this single point. If I click O and then click G, I'm also moving vertices around it. And you can change the size of this influence by scrolling in and out with your mouse wheel. So I'm going to scroll out to affect a good portion of it. And I'm just going to bring this down. I just want to flatten this out a bit. I like it right about there. Maybe here, let's see, get a little closer to the original image. Maybe about right there is good. I hit tab to get out of edit mode. Scroll out, see where we're at. Okay. Alright, so we have most of this modeled. Now we got to add little toppers. You know what? I'm actually going to click right here and change this to 0. It's just going to be a little bit easier to model the topper if we don't have it rotated first. So I'm going to hit Shift A. Let's see, what's a good shape for this? We're going to add in a cube. I'm going to scale this cube down. G to bring it up towards here. Scale it down some more. G to get in position. Let's see. I'm going to hit 7 to go into the top view. See if I think that's a good size. I'm going to scale it up a little bit here. G, move it into what I think is the center a little more. Alright, I'm going to tab in edit mode. If I hold control and hit R, click twice, that's going to add a cut directly through the center here. If I click R, hold control, hit R again, I'm going to place my cursor along this edge and I'm going to add another cut right there. Alright, I'm going to hit 7 to go back on the top view, Z to get into wireframe view, A to deselect everything. Now I'm going to hit B, get these middle vertices, and I'm going to hit S for scale, and Y, oops, hit escape, I made a mistake there. I still have proportional editing on. If you hit O, you'll turn off proportional editing. Hit S, Y, I'm just going to pull this out a bit. A to deselect, B, select these vertices. This time it's going to be scale X. Get it about like so. I'm going to hit tab and let's see what I think, how this looks. Okay, that looks alright. Probably, yeah, definitely too big. Scale it down. I'll hit Z so I can see my reference a little better. Okay, let's see. That looks about right. A 7. Maybe a little larger. I keep deciding. Okay, well for now that's good. Alright, I'm going to go back into edit mode by hitting tab. I'm going to hold control and hit tab to go back into face select. I'm going to right click on the first one, hold shift, right click on these other 3. I'm going to hit E for extrude, scale, bring that in here, left click, go back to my front view, and I'm going to hit extrude, bring it up here a little bit, extrude scale, E and then S, bring it in, extrude upwards. Okay, how many ridges do we have on this? Let's see. Let's see my reference image a little better. So it goes up once, goes up twice. Alright, either way. I'm going to hit E and S to extrude and then scale in again. This time I'm going to extrude up. Alright, now this time we're going to just hit extrude. We're going to move it up a bit. Scale it inwards. We're going to make this little circular part in the top. Extrude, move it up a bit, hit scale, bring it in a little even more. One more, extrude up, maybe a little less distance this time, and we're going to scale it inwards. Alright, hit tab, Z, see what we're doing a little better. I'm going to hit smooth. I'm going to go to add modifier, and we're going to add a subdivision surface to this, and we're going to make it 2. Okay, so now we also can add that mirror modifier. So I'm going to click add modifier, click on mirror, mirror object, the clock body again. Alright, so now we've got everything we need for this scene. Okay, so right click on this ear here, hit R to rotate, put that in position like so. Let's maybe make it -38. So now I can right click on this one and I know to put in right here -38. Got the same rotation, now it just needs to be moved into the correct position. Okay, alright. Oh, and the subdivision surface got rid of some of these hard edges. I'm going to bring them back. So I'm going to hit tab, move my view a little bit so I can see what I'm doing a little better. I'm going to alt click on this edge right here. Oh, nope. A to deselect. I'm going to hit control and tab to go back into vertex mode. Hold alt, right click to select this. I'm going to change this crease again right there. Hit Z so I can see through. I'm also going to grab this one. Hit Z again so I can see what I'm doing. Change the mean crease up to 1. And I'm just going to keep doing that for all these parts right here. Alt click, mean crease up, Z so I can see through it. Alt click right there, mean crease up. Double check what I'm doing here. Alt click right here, mean crease up. Alt click right here, mean crease up. Okay, tab back in the object mode, get into my front view, see how I feel about that. Okay, alright, I like it. Alright, so now is a good time to save our project. You just can hit Control S. Make sure you get into that folder where all the files are. So I'm going to name this clock on table. Hit enter. Hit enter. Alright, and I should go back and rename these things. Alright, so I'm going to right click on the little legs, double click, call it legs, right click on this, call it ear. I know it's a bad name, but that's what I think of this thing as. Right click here. I'm going to call this ear bottom. Right click here. Change this to ear top. Okay. Alright, so the last thing we need... Oh, well now that I'm looking at the clock, I do realize that the overall shape of the clock is a little strange, so I'm going to right click on this clock body, hit 7 to go into my top view, hit tab to go into edit mode, A to make sure I deselect everything, B to select all these top vertices. I'm just going to go, I'm going to undo that by Control Z. Z is going to bring me to wireframe view wireframe view. Hit B to select all of these vertices. I'm going to click and hold on this axis right here, the Y. It's going to restrict the movement here. Tab back in edit mode, Z, so I can see I'm doing it better. And that looks a little bit closer to the real size. Now I'm going to right click and then shift right click on these, 7 to go in the top view. And I'm just going to move these into position here. Also the legs down there, I'm going to right click on the legs, move them right here. Okay, that looks a little bit better here proportionally. You might notice the back is a little strange. It won't be seen from the render, so we don't need to go and change anything. We're viewing it straight on, so don't worry about it. Alright, so the last part of the modeling, we need to add the top connecting piece here. Shift A, add in a cube, scale it down, G, move it up, scale down some more, maybe like that, rotate, let's get a little closer into position here, rotate, and that's good there. Hit tab to go into edit mode, Z to wireframe mode, A to deselect everything, click C, click and hold to select these vertices, right click to select those, G to move. I'm going to hit Z twice to restrict it on the local Z axis. I'm going to bring it down to right about here. Now I'm going to hit A to deselect, B for my box selection tool, select those vertices. Hit E, extrude, hit Z to make it move freely. Start following this curve a little bit. Select there, rotate, E to extrude, E to extrude, rotate a little bit, E to extrude, rotate, bring G to move this one down a bit, rotate, E, G to bring it down a bit, rotate, E, G, rotate a little bit. Let's see where we're at. Zoom out. Okay, so now I'm going to tab back into object mode. Go to my modifiers again, add modifier. Can add in the mirror modifier. Change the mirror object to clock body. Now you see how we're getting it on both sides. I'm going to go ahead and apply this mirror modifier. I really just did that so I don't have to remodel it on the other side. So I'm going to click apply. Now I'm going to tab back into edit mode. Zoom in here. Alright, so I'm going to hit Control Tab to go into face mode. Both those faces are already selected for me. If they're not for you, go ahead and select both of those. X, delete faces, click on faces right here. I'm going to Control Tab back into vertex mode. I'm going to select these 4 outer vertices and then hit F. So I'm right clicking and I'm shift right clicking. F, rotate around, click, shift right click, F, and then the ones in the back too, and F. Okay, Z, get back into solid view. And now I notice that we aren't in the correct position right now. I'm going to hit tab to go back to object mode, 7 to go to top view, and just click and drag this so they match up nicely here. Alright, go back to the front view. I'm going to add a subdivision surface to this. And if I didn't already, I'm going to click smooth shading on this, bring the subdivisions up to 2. Alright, that looks pretty good, but I want it to be a little bit thicker. So I'm going to control tab, control tab out of there. I'm going to tab into edit mode. Scroll so I can see what I'm doing. I'm going to alt right click here, shift alt right click here, jump into my front view, and I'm just going to pull those up using this a little bit. I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom. I'm going to alt right click and shift alt right click, jump back in the front view. I'm going to pull this down so it's a bit thicker here. Go back to tab and object mode, pull it down just a smidgen. Okay, that looks pretty good. Maybe I'm going to X to scale it. No, hit escape, don't do that. Let's see, I just don't like how it's not perfectly, it's not connecting all the way into here. So let's see, let's go to tab. We are going to Z to go to wireframe mode. I'm just going to select these 4 vertices, the front view. I'm just going to pull them more so into that little part there. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Make sure I don't have the other side selected. So I hit A to deselect everything, B to select all these, G, and I'm just going to pull it in a little bit, tab back in object mode, Z. Okay, I like how that's looking a little better. Alright, so that is the clock modeled. We're going to hit Control S. It's a good time to save our project. Okay, now we're going to give our clock a material. I'm going to go down here where there's these diagonal lines. I'm going to click and drag to split our view. Go back down and left click here. We're changing from 3D view into the node editor. Alright, I'm going to right click on our clock body. Go over to this right panel where the circle is. And we're going to add new. This gives us a new material. You'll see that 2 boxes have popped up here, and this is how we're going to start changing the appearance of our clock. If you hold Shift Z with your mouse in this top panel, this switches into rendered view mode. Since we haven't done anything yet, you just should see this gray type of scene. First, I'm going to click here on this white swatch, and then we'll go up and give this a nice blue color. Something, maybe a little more of a blue. That was a little purple. Okay. And you don't see too much when you don't have any lights or anything in the scene. So to make this a little more interesting, I'm going to go over to this right panel. I'm going to click on the World tab. I'm going to click the little checkbox right here next to the gray swatch. And I'm going to click on Environment Texture. It's pink right now because we haven't added any texture or any image in yet. So I'm going to click Open. I'm going to navigate to this Barcelona HDR that I put in the folder. Double click on it. And now you see this color. So if you actually switch with 5 into perspective mode, you'll see that that image has been put all around this scene. And it's putting light information onto this clock, so it makes the lighting a little more interesting, and when we have reflections, it's going to make that a lot more interesting too. Alright, so right now we have this blue for the clock, but I want to make it reflective. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to right click on this box, hit G, move it over to give myself some more space, Shift A, and I'm going to click search right here and type in mix. That will bring up a mix shader. Hit enter, bring your mouse up, and then click right in between. That's automatically connecting these up together. So I'm going to mix this diffuse with a Shift A, click search, we'll type in glossy, put it here, and I'm going to connect the glossy into the bottom of this mix. So basically what I'm doing so far is, if you have the factor all the way to 0, you'll see that's just a diffuse blue coming in. If I have the factor all the way up to 1, that is 100% glossy. The clock is just reflective. I'm going to bring that back to 0.5. and I'm going to hit Shift A, hit that search again, and type in Fresnel. I'm going to change the factor, and I'm going to put that, or select the factor and pull it into the roughness. That's just going to give us a little bit more realistic reflections. If I take that off, you'll see the reflections are not nearly as realistic. Okay, and so we've got a decent clock body going, but I want this clock to be a little bit worn and not brand new and perfect. So I'm actually going to right click on the Fresnel, and I'm going to right click on glossy, hit G, move these to the side, hit Shift A. I'm going to add in another mix shader, drop it right here. I'm going to right click on this glossy, hit Shift D to duplicate. Okay, and I'll put that into the bottom of this shader. So right now, these are mixing together almost exactly the same except for the Fresnel shader. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to Shift A, adding a noise texture. I'm going to take the factor, and I'm going to put it into the roughness. Change this value to 10, this to 1, and this to 15. So if I zoom in here a little bit, you'll start to see there's some variation here in the reflection. It's not just perfectly uniform the way it was before. So, and how that's working is this noise texture generates this kind of swirly image you're seeing here because there's a distort number to it. It's kind of changing rather just being dots into these swirls. But I want to change this a little bit more. I'm going to hit G, move this over, Shift A, add a color ramp, drop that in between here. So this noise texture into the roughness is just a black and white image, so I can use the color ramp to alter this noise texture that's being created. So I'm going to pull the black up about halfway, and you'll see now there's much more clear with these little scratches. So it kind of looks like little scratches and little areas that this clock has been worn out rather than being perfectly brand new. So you can play with the slider until you kind of like the result you get. I'm going to put it maybe about right here. I'm going to look at it maybe from straight on by hitting 1. Okay. Yeah, I think I like that. I'm going to hit 5 to get out of perspective mode for now. And we're good on that texture. So I'm going to hit Shift Z, get out of that. Okay, we don't want this middle section to have the same material as the rest of the clock. So we're going to go over here, hit Add, and we're going to make it a new texture here. If I tab into Edit mode, I'm going to use the scrolly wheel, make sure you don't have anything else selected currently. And now I'm going to hit C, and I'm going to start selecting all of these faces here. So I'm going to zoom in, get myself a little closer. Just start selecting all of these faces here. Okay, once you have them all selected, right click to finish that. Oh, looks like I missed one. Alright, now I'm going to click Assign. So if I hit Tab, hit Shift Z to go back into rendered mode, you'll see that it's not reflective in blue like the rest of the clock. What we actually want is the numbers like a clock has. So I'm going to go over here, I'm going to click on this little gray box and go up to Image Texture. It's purple pink right now because we don't have anyone loaded in. Click Open, and I'm going to double click on this clock face UV. Okay, so you'll see in the preview here that the numbers are here, but they're not showing up on the clock, and that's because we haven't UV unwrapped this yet. I'm going to hit Tab, actually I'm going to hit Z to go back into wireframe mode, and if you are in edit mode, hit Tab to get into edit mode. I'm going to hit 1 to view this straight on, and we're actually going to go down and change this bottom view we're currently in the node editor, I'm going to change this over to UV editor. If you're not familiar with UV unwrapping at all, basically, if you want to add an image texture to your model, it has to be translated into 2D space to be put onto the 3D object, and you do that with UV unwrapping. So we still have all these faces selected. So with your mouse up here in the top section, hit U and hit Unwrap. So here you'll see our circle, and if you click on this little image here, we can select the clock face UV and just make sure that it's lined up properly. It should be good for you. I'm gonna hit Tab to go back. Object mode, Shift Z into rendered mode. Oh, okay, so a little strange. Looks like it's rotated. Not entirely sure why. Let's see. Maybe if I hit Control A, rotation. Nope, that didn't do it. Okay, I'm not really sure why it's rotated like that, but if we go back into edit mode, I'm going to hit Shift Z, and with my mouse back down here, I'm going to hit R, and I'm just going to start rotating this, the opposite direction, until we get this into position here. Okay, so that's good. Alright, so now we have our clock with the numbers included. If you want those numbers to be a little bit more near the edge, you can hit S to scale, and I'm just going to bring this in a little bit closer, like so. Earlier I forgot to model the clock hands, so let's do that now. I'm going to hit Shift Z and then Tab to get us back into object mode, and to give us some more space, I'm going to go back and collapse this window down so we can see what we're doing. Shift A, I'm going to add in a cube, scale it down, go into wireframe mode. So let's see, I'm going to want it to be, we'll use the previous as a reference, even though it doesn't look like it's directly in the center, but to get the size about right, I'm going to put it there, scale it down, and I'm going to go over to the modifiers, and I'm going to add a subdivision surface and put it at 2. Hit Z. I'm just going to bring this to where we can see what we're doing. Alright, I'm going to go into 7 for the top view, hit Z, and I don't want this to go out further than the rim of the clock. So I'm going to bring it in about here, Tab, A to deselect, Control Tab to go into vertex, I'm going to hit B, select these, I'm going to extrude with E, go about here, and I'm going to scale, E, scale it back out, and then E to extrude it. Tab and Z. Okay. Alright. So this is a little too long here. So I'm going to tab back into edit mode, A to deselect, I'm going to B box select these, and I'll pull it to make this a little bit more of a nub here. Tab back. Let's see, I'm going to go back to my top view. Okay, so it's just barely not poking out. Maybe I'll put it a little bit more. Okay, so you can see it coming out. I'm going to go over back in this tool section, hit smooth, make sure it's smooth shaded, hit Shift Z just to give myself a little view. And we're going back in the front view. I'm not sure why when we were looking through the reference maybe was a little off, so I'm going to go back and put this directly in the center with G. Alright, and now we need 2 hands to go with this, so hit Shift A, cube, scale it down, go into wireframe mode, just going to put this into place a little bit closer, scale it down, get it about the same size as that is. Go over to modifiers again. We're going to add a subdivision surface, put it at 2. Go ahead and put the shading to smooth. I'm going to tab in the edit mode, A to deselect, Z to go to wireframe mode, so I can hit B and select all of these, including the back vertices. Bring this up a bit, and I'm going to extrude up to the top here, and then hit S to scale. Maybe bring this a little bit higher. Okay, hit tab. Let's see, okay. Let's go into top view, hit Z. So 7 for top view, Z to get in the wireframe. Pull that into position. And let's see. Okay. So it looks like it's a little too thick. So I'm going to scale it along the Y. So I'm going to hit S and Y. Thin this out a bit. Put it a little bit more in the middle. Okay. Maybe I want to scale a little bit on the X to S, X. A little bit more so like that. Okay. Alright. And then I'm going to rotate it just a little bit so it's not perfectly up. Shift D to duplicate. Rotate that one around. I'm going to tab into edit mode. If these are already selected for you, that's perfect. Hit G. I'm just going to make this one a little bit shorter here. I'm going to hit Z twice just to keep it on the local Z axis so I'm not skewing it by accident. Pull it about here. Hit tab. Alright, maybe a little bit more of an appealing angle was how it was in the reference image. This kind of angle here. Alright, so hit Shift Z and see where we're at. Alright, those look good. They just need their own material. So I'm going to hit Shift Z to get out of the rendered view. I have one of them selected here, so I'm going to go over to the materials. I'm going to add a new material. I'm going to go back and switch, bring my view into 2 here, split my view, sorry. Change this from 3D view into node editor. I'm going to zoom in here. Alright, so for the diffuse, we're going to put it at a dark black color, maybe not perfectly black, but dark. And I'm going to hit Shift A, type in glossy here, Shift A again, put in the mix shader right in between here, connect the glossy up, and I'll hit Shift A again. I'm going to type in Fresnel so those reflections look better again. And I'm going to hit Shift Z up here, see what we're looking at. Okay. Alright, I want to have mostly that black color with just a little bit of glossy, so about right there looks pretty good to me. Maybe even, let's just see, 0.1. Okay, 0.1 looks good. So I'm going to right click on this one here. Since we've already made the material, I have to hit new material. I'm just going to click right here, select the material from the drop down, right click here, and select the material from the drop down. Alright, and then those have their materials. We're going to continue adding materials here, so I'm going to shift and mouse click up to move up. I'm going to right click on one of these pieces on the top here. I'm going to click on the material we just made that's black. I'm going to hit the little plus sign, and that's going to make a duplicate of that material and still have it applied. I'm going to change this black value up to a nicer silver value. Then I'm going to go back to the top. I'm going to right click on these ears. I'm going to select the material that we made earlier. Right click on the top right here. Select that silver material. And then I'm also going to select this silver material here. Now let's zoom out and see where we're at. Okay, we need to add the materials to the bottom. Actually, in this case, I want these to be a lot more reflective than just being diffuse. So I'm gonna go and change this slider here first. Let's see what it looks like all the way turned up. Okay, I don't want it that reflective. Pull it down. Somewhere around halfway looks pretty good. I'm just going to put the 0.5 to it, I think. Hit 5. I'm going to go to perspective mode, view, C. Okay. Okay, I think that will work. Looking at this render view, I don't like how the noise we used on the front of face, there's not really as many scratches on these ear parts. I'm going to right click on the ear, go over to the materials tab, I'm going to hit the add new to make that duplicate of that material. And I'm going to move my way over with shift and middle mouse click, and I'm going to try to change this distortion to 5. Okay, you can see a few more showed up. I'm going to start playing with where the black slider is. Let's try bringing up the white slider. Okay, so I'm starting to see this appearance change, and it's a little bit more similar, but it might be a little over the top. So I'm going to bring it up a bit. Something like this I'm a little happier with, just so I'm a little bit more similar of amount of wear between the front of the clock and this top part here. And also while we're at it, I'm going to hit tab, or I'm going to hit Z, and then get into edit mode for this clock here. I'm going to A to deselect everything, C to use my circle select, and I just want to add a little lip to this. So right now it just ends, you can kind of tell, so I'm going to hit E and S immediately, and I just want a little bit of a lip, Z, so I can kind of see under. Okay, maybe even a little less than that. I'm going to hit scale it back out. Okay, I'm going to hit Z to go back into wireframe mode, E for extrude. I'm going to hit Z twice to keep that in the local axis, Z axis, and I'm going to click right there, tab, shift Z. Okay, now there's a little bit of a lip to this. I do want, actually no, I like how it looks, so let's leave it the way it is. Alright, I'm going to zoom out. I'm going to hit 5 to go into perspective mode, view, and looking at it in perspective, I'm going to hit 1 to hit straight on. Still, it looks a little odd. I think the overall shape of the clock, it's just too big. So let me hit shift Z to get out of that. I'm going to right click on the main clock body, hit 7 to go into top view, tab to go into edit mode, A to deselect, 5 to get out of perspective mode. I'm going to hit B and select all these back vertices again. I'm just going to pull them in. I think something a lot smaller is going to work a lot better there. So tab out of there. Now I just need to move everything else into place. Select those. Select that top bar. So I'm hitting shift and right click to get, shift right click to deselect that. Okay, I guess I'm going to keep selecting that. Let me get a little bit closer here. Okay. Get the legs too. 7 to go to the top view. I'm just going to pull, I forgot the little ears. Let me hit Control Z. Shift right click to get those two. I'm just going to pull these into position here. Okay. Maybe even, so the ears look good where they are, but the legs I think could come forward a little bit. So I'm just going to right click on those only, go to my side view, maybe just a hair. I'm going to go in the front view, hit shift Z, go to perspective view. Okay, that's looking better to me. I'll scroll around a bit here just to check it out. Looks good. Now we're going to add in our back wall. I'm going to hit Shift Z, scroll out a little bit, hit Shift A, add in plane, I'm going to hit Scale, S, and 1.5 for 15, hit Enter, hit R for rotate, X to do it around the X axis, and then 90. Alright, now I'm just going to scroll out and pull this back, let's see, maybe about to there. We're going to change this later. Alright, I'm going to add in new material for it. I'm going to go down and add in an image texture. Click open, and I'm going to find that texture, the paper decorative. I'm going to add it there. Alright, and I'm going to switch my view down here into the UV image editor. I'll tab into edit mode, hit U, and unwrap. Alright, I'm going to click this little picture sign here, select that just so we can see how this texture is being applied a little bit better. Alright, I'm going to hit tab in the top with my mouse in the top section, hit Shift Z, and that way we can see this. Alright, now would be a good time to add a camera into the scene. I'm going to hit Shift Z to go out of the rendered view. I'm going to hit Shift A to add a camera into the scene. Go down to camera. Alright, I'm going to hit 1. Make sure I'm in this straight perspective mode. And with the camera still selected, I'm going to hit Control, Alt, and 0. That's going to put the camera right in the front view. Now I'm going to go over to the focal length and change 35 to 80. And now I'm just going to change the position of my camera a little bit. Lower it. Okay, that'll be good for now. Alright, I'm going to hit Shift A. I'm going to add in a plane. This is going to be the floor. And it's going to really bring this up. I want to make sure it intersects with that back wall. Scaled up a bit more even. Pull it back. Okay. Let's see in our camera view. Okay. I still need this to be a little bit larger so that you can see the floor. There's no gap in between the camera and the floor. Okay. And then I'm going to jump into front view, and I'm going to go out of perspective mode, zoom in. I'm going to pull the floor down to be at the bottom of the clock, jump back into my camera view with 0. I'm going to hit Shift Z. Okay, it looks like it's lining up pretty nicely. Hit Shift Z to go out of render view, rotate around, Z to go into wireframe mode, A to deselect. I'm going to hit B. I'm going to select all these clock pieces. I'm just going to go ahead and pull these back maybe about to here. A to deselect it. Jumping back to my camera with 0. I'm going to hit Shift Z just to take a look where we're at. Okay, so we're looking pretty good here. Alright, I'm going to hit Shift Z, and I'm going to right click, make sure the floor is selected. I'm going to hold Control, hit A, and I'm just going to apply that scale just to make sure when we do our texturing later that the scale is correct and nothing strange is going on there. Alright, so I'm going to change my bottom view from the UV editor into the node editor. And so it doesn't have any nodes right now because there's no material. I'm going to hit New Material, hit Shift and middle mouse wheel to find my nodes. Alright, and this is going to be the most complicated node setup that we're going to do. So bear with me and I'll talk about it. Just follow along and I'll talk about it a little bit. I'm going to delete out this diffuse for now. Give myself some more space. Alright, we're going to start Shift A, type an image to give us an image texture. I know I'm going to need another one immediately, so I'm going to hit Shift D to duplicate that image texture. For the top one, I'm going to click Open. I'm going to go to my wood planks folder with the texture, and I'm going to grab this color var 1. Alright, so that's the top one. The bottom one, I'm going to click open, and I'm going to get back in that folder. I'm going to grab the AO. Alright, I'm going to hit Shift A, type in here mix. You don't want the mix shader, you want the mix RGB. I'm going to change mix to multiply. I'm going to take the top color output, put it into the color 1, take the bottom color, put it into the bottom color. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to add in 2 more image textures. I'm going to hit Shift A, type in image. I'll place that right here. Hit Shift D to duplicate that, because I know again I'm going to need 2 more. The top one I'm going to hit open. We're going to grab the normal this time, NRM. And for the bottom one, click open. We are going to get the gloss. Okay, and I'm going to switch both of these to non-color data. Right here underneath where you selected them, switch these to non-color data. The top one needs to have a normal map. So I'm going to hit Shift A, type in normal, select this normal map, and I'm going to take the color output and put it into the color here. Alright, I'm going to grab this material output, move it out of the way. We've got some more nodes to add. Alright, I'm going to hit Shift A, type in glossy, add that right here. I'm going to take the normal output and put it into the normal of this glossy. Shift A, I'm going to add in a diffuse, put that right here. We're going to take that normal output again and put it into the normal of the diffuse. Alright, then I'm going to hit Shift A, add in a mix shader, take the output of here into the top. I'm going to put that into the output here. We're going to grab this glossy output and put it into the bottom of the mix shader. Okay, now I'm going to hit Shift A again, add another image texture. I'm going to click open. This time we're going to grab the reflection, and I'm going to take this color output and put it into the factor. Move it up a little bit. Alright, now I need to connect these first nodes we made, this multiply output, and I'll put it into the color of the diffuse. Alright, you can see in the preview window what we've got so far. I'm going to hit Shift Z up here. You're not seeing any image texture yet because I forgot to unwrap this. So I'm going to hit Shift Z, tab into edit mode, I'm going to hit U and unwrap. Shift Z. Okay, so right now you can see we've got our texture, but it's huge. And let me go back into our node editor. Switch this, or sorry, not the node editor, but the UV image editor. Switch this to this wood plank var 1, and in the top we need to go tab back into edit mode. Alright, so first thing I want to do is I'm going to scale this down. It's much too large currently. And then I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees. I want the wood planks to be going the other direction. Alright, so I'm going to move around here, just kind of I'm checking my scale, see what I think about where the clock size compared to the wood plank. I think we had something pretty close. I think maybe something like that is good. Go back in the camera view. I think that looks pretty good. I'm going to hit Shift Z to go out of that view. I'm going to go back to my bottom, and I'm going to switch this view back into the node editor. I'm going to hit Shift Z. Actually, I'm going to tab out of edit mode. I'm going to hit Shift Z. Alright, so our scene's looking pretty good now, except the colors of the floor and the background, they're not adding anything to the scene. They're not too interesting. So what we're going to do is we're going to change the colors of them using the node editor. So we're going to start with the floor, so we've still got the floor selected. I'm going to hit Shift A, and I'm going to type in hue for hue saturation. I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. I'm going to take the hue down to 0 here. Saturation at 1. I'm going to put the value at 0.15. That's just going to darken it up a bit. I'm going to hit Shift A, type in RGB, and I want the RGB curves. I'm going to select that here. Pull it up a little bit with G. I'm going to switch to the red channel. I'm going to go to around the middle, and I'm just going to pull this up a bit. That's going to add some red to the scene. I'm trying to go for kind of like a mint chocolate type look. I'm going to make this have a little bit of red to it, a little dark color, and then the back wall is going to be this greenish color to complement each other pretty well. Alright, so I'm going to go and hit Shift A, type in brightness, contrast, add in right here, hit G to move it over a little bit, maybe move this out of the way also, and I'm just going to bring this contrast to 0.1, just a little bit more contrast there. Alright, this may be a little bit too red. You can play with your different values to see what you like. You know, if you take it too far, it's going to be too red. Go the other way. I want to give myself just a hint of that red. I think I'm pretty happy with it like that. I'm going to right click on this image texture, hit G to move it over, to give ourselves some more space. Shift A, I'm going to type in RGB and click on these RGB curves. Alright, so now we're just going to change the color of this background image. So I'm going to go to the red channel. I'm just going to pull this down pretty far. Go to the green channel, pull it the other direction. I'm going to go to the blue, and I'm going to pull up this left handle about here. Take the right one, move it about here, and then we're just going to play with this middle section until we're happy with the color that we get. Maybe something about something around right here. I mean, this is a little bit of your preference. I don't want it to be too similar to the blue on the clock, but I think I like how it looks right here. I hit Shift A. We're going to add in hue saturation. Put that right here. I'm going to put the value at 0.8 and the saturation at 2. It's too high. I'm going to put it at 1.5. See what we think there. It's actually, I'm going to play with the value here a little bit more. See what I like, see what I'm thinking here. Okay, no, I was happy with the 0.8 right there. Okay, now I want to give the floor displacement, so I'm going to right click on the floor. I'm going to hit Tab. I'm going to hit the space bar, type in subdivide, and I'm going to click on this subdivide right here. Alright, that gives us a cut, and when you do that, a box will pop up here, and we can change the number of cuts. I'm going to change it up to 40. I'm going to hit Tab to go out of edit mode, back into object mode, and I'm going to go over here, add modifier, click on displace, click new here, and there's a button right here. We're going to click on that. It's going to open up the texture we just made. Click open, go into wood planks, and I'm going to select the displacement 3K. Alright, so now you can actually see there's some changes in the geometry here. I'm going to go back to the modifiers tab, and we're going to change this texture coordinates to UV, so that way we'll use the UV that we unwrapped earlier, and now we can just play with the strength here. We're not seeing it get lines on every crease the way it is with the image texture, the way the wood has the lines. And right now it's because there's not enough geometry here. So we're going to go ahead and add a subdivision surface, but depending on what type of machine you're using, this is going to start being a little bit more of a computing process. So be sure to Control S and save your project. We're going to add modifier, and we're going to add a subdivision surface, and we're going to click this little up arrow so it goes above the displacement. So here we can see more of the lines coming in, and I'm going to hit this up to 2. Be careful if your machine isn't the strongest. It might have a little bit of trouble doing that, but if you can handle it, go up to 2. If not, you could leave it at 0, and while you're previewing it, you won't see the lines properly, but you'll see it properly in the render. So now that I've had it where I can see all the lines, I'm just going to play with the strength a little bit. I kind of do want it to be a little drastic and exaggerated for this case. I'll go back to my camera view. I'm going to hit Shift Z. And again, if you've got the subdivisions up to 2 here, it may be a little bit difficult for your computer to do it. It could crash Blender, so just like I said, make sure you hit save before you try this out, and if it's too much for your computer to handle, just keep the views at 0, and we'll leave it for the render, or even just have 1 if that's all your computer can handle. Alright, so that displacement moved this mid-level up a little bit. I'm going to hit Shift Z, hit 1, just to get into this front view. I'm going to change, actually, I'm going to undo that. And I'm just going to pull this down a little bit to where it's not going through the floor. We'll take a look at this. Also, I currently have my clock kind of in one of the cracks here. I don't want that, so I'm going to check what I'm doing here, but I'm going to move around. You see right here how the clock's kind of in one of these gaps. So hit Z to go into wireframe mode, A to deselect everything, and actually I'm going to jump with 3 to go into my side view, and again just make sure everything's deselected. I'm going to hit B and just make sure you grab everything that's in the clock. Change my view to the top view. Actually, no, I can't quite see what I'm doing there, so hit Z, and I'm just going to pull this clock kind of at the middle of this panel here. Go into my zero. I'm actually going to turn my view down also, because I was having some trouble with the speeds here to give myself a preview. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. So you see now, you can see right here, this is actually where the displacement has moved this down, so there's some spacing here. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to click on the camera over here, and we're going to add some depth of field. Click on the camera icon here once you have the camera selected. I'm going to change the focus to the clock body, and I'm going to change radius to f-stop, and let's test it out at about a 1, and we'll hit Shift Z, and this way we'll start seeing some depth of field come into play. Okay, so I kind of want that drastic depth of field, so I want even more. Let's try 0.5. That's pretty good. Maybe I'm going to go even lower. Let's try 0.25. I do like that, but I don't want the background to be that out of focus. So maybe let's go to a 0.4 and see what we think there. Okay, I think the floor is a little bit too drastic. I'm going to hit Shift Z to get out of here. Right click to get back on the floor. Go back to my modifiers. I'm just going to pull that strength down a bit. That is moving my floor, so I'm going to hit 1. Make sure this is actually touching the feet here. Go back to my camera view, hit Shift Z. Now I'm going to add a sun to the scene. I'm going to hit Shift Z, and I'm going to pull this window down, and hit Shift A, and we're going to add in a lamp, and we're going to select sun. Right now our scene's just being lit with the HDR. I want to add in the sun so we get some shadow on the clock. I'll bring this up, pulled over. The sun is just directional, but it kind of helps me just to move around a little bit so I can get a better sense of how this sun is gonna hit the clock, where it's gonna hit it. Okay, I'm just going between my views. I'm just jumping, from front view, kind of moving the ray with R with rotate. I'm gonna jump into 3 to move it here. Kind of get it right on there. All right, I'm gonna go back into my camera view, and I'm gonna hit Shift Z. Alright, so you can kind of see there's a little bit of a shadow under the clock. You can't see it too well. I'm going to go over to the sun settings, and I'm going to change it to 2. Make the strength a little bit bigger. And I'm actually going to change the sun color a bit. I'm going to make it a little bit kind of orangey, maybe about this much. It's just going to add some warmth to the scene. Kind of give it that kind of golden glow type look. And I kind of want the shadow to be a little bit harsher in here. Maybe I'll change the position a little bit about where it's hitting. Just trying to get a better sense of where it's at. I want it to come across the face a little more. Let's see what it looks like here. Okay, I like that. You can see the shadow right here on the hand on the face. Alright, we're ready to give this a render. So I'm going to hit Shift Z, and I'm going to go back, click on the little camera here to get into our scene options. I'm going to turn the resolution all the way up to 100%. I'm going to go down to the sampling. I'm going to change it up to 500. That should be enough for this project. And I'm going to pick where I'm saving it out to. I'm going to go find the folder where I've been working. And I'm just going to name it clock render. Hit enter a couple times. Alright, so I've got the locations being saved, I've got the samples, and I've got this turned up to 100. Depending on your computer, you can render with the CPU or with the GPU. I'm going to go ahead and render with my GPU. Alright, so I'm just going to click render right here, and we'll come back when it's finished. Okay, here's our finished result. We could be finished here, and we're pretty happy with it, but we could actually push this a little bit further if we did some color correction with the compositor. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to go up and change the default view over here to compositing. I'm going to go ahead and pull this tab over. I'm going to click on Use Nodes. And I'm going to select Render Result down here. Alright, I'm going to give myself some space so I still want to be able to see a lot with, have some space to see here, but I also need some room to work up here. I'm going to hit G, move these render layers over, right click on the composite, G, move these over, and now we're just going to go through and change some of the colors. So now I'm going to hit Shift A, type in color, and I'm going to select color balance, zoom in here. If you hover your mouse over each of these sections, it'll tell you what you're doing. So this one's correcting for the shadows, this is color correction for the midtones, and this is for the highlights. So really we're just going to start going in here and making some adjustments. So for the shadows, I want to go and kind of adjust them a little bit towards the blue. Slight changes make a big difference here. So it's a bit of a trial and error. You're just going to click around and just try to see what you like. For the midtones, I want to get rid of some of that reddish purple, so I'm going to add in some green to it. So maybe about here. And in the highlights, I want to add in some more of that warmth into it. Alright, I'm going to hit M, and that will turn off this node so we get to see how it looked before. Hit M to see after. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. Like I said, you can keep tinkering, but I'm going to move on. I'm going to hit Shift A, type in hue. I'm going to select this hue saturation value, add it in here. I'm going to change the hue to 0.545. Alright. Hit M, turn it off and on. Okay, I think it's just a little bit more of an appealing blue. Some of these, just the hue values that we're getting a little more appealing here. I'm going to hit Shift A, type in color, select the color correction. Alright, I'm going to use this to change how the highlights look. I'm going to change this value here to 0.4, and I'm going to go over to the gamma and pull the highlights up. That's just going to make the clock face much more of that true white. Alright, I'm going to hit Shift A. I'm going to add in a brightness contrast. I'm just going to bring this contrast up to 0.5. So we can hit M, see the before and after. Alright, I'm going to call this done. I still think there could be a little more tinkering with the coloring to get it just right, but I'll leave it up to you. Just to make sure we keep this result with the color changes. I'm just going to click Image, Save as Image. Give this a name, clock, rendered, colored, something like that. Hit Save, and we're done.